The rap game's been flipped since the old school days, and now the legends are speaking up about how it's changed. From Snoop Dogg throwing shade at rappers hiding behind auto-tune,
harmony, melodies, that don't even matter no more. It's just auto-tune.
To Dr. Dre expressing discontent about having too many producers on a single album.
I don't like the fact that there's 9 different producers on one album.
To Andre 3000 straight up saying today's rappers have zero creativity.
So a lot of artists sound the same because you can quickly jump on a microphone.
This is what rap legends really think about today's rap, starting with Dr. Dre. The man who transformed West Coast rap into a billion-dollar empire has grown tired of what hip-hop has become. Dr. Dre co-founded NWA in the late 1980s and changed the game with his production on albums like The Chronic in 1992 and Doggy Style in 1993. As the mastermind behind Death Row Records, Aftermath Entertainment, and Beats by Dre, his ear for heavy bass and polished sounds defined an era where production mattered just as much as the lyrics. But these days, Dre isn't happy with modern rap. During a 2023 interview with Kevin Hart, he admitted that while hip-hop is naturally evolving, he personally doesn't connect with most of what he hears. He's not trying to hate on anybody, but the music just doesn't move him anymore. By late 2024, he got even more direct during a Complex magazine interview, saying that modern hip-hop doesn't inspire him at all. He hasn't heard anything that makes him think he wishes he made that track, which used to happen all the time back in the day. What bothers Dre the most is how albums are made now. Back when he produced The Chronic, he handled everything himself, creating a unified sound from start to finish. These days, albums have way too many different producers working on them, and he thinks that ruins the flow and continuity. He talked about this frustration during an October 2024 interview with Snoop Dogg, explaining how the whole production process has changed because of computers and the internet.
Find your collaborator. I don't like the fact that there's 9 different producers on one album. I like the idea of one producer on one album. The continuity is everything.
Yeah, where did that come from? Where did it come from where you got cats that want to be with 9 different producers on one album and stuff like that? When the hell did that start?
I don't know. I don't know, but I don't like it.
Dre thinks technology made it too easy for people to just download a beat and rap over it without putting in real work. He says a lot of modern music lacks true musicianship, especially with everyone using the same rolling 808s and basic elements. For someone who spent countless hours in the studio, layering live instruments and creating complex sounds, watching hip-hop become a copy and paste operation feels like a betrayal of everything he built. Dre's frustration with fragmented production and multiple producers ruining album continuity is serious, but this next Legends issue goes deeper into how artists have completely lost their originality and identity. Snoop Dogg. Calvin Broadus Jr., better known as Snoop Dogg, came up in the early 1990s with a smooth style that balanced out NWA's hardcore approach. His work on Doggy Style made him a household name, and over 30 years he's built an empire that includes cannabis businesses, TV shows, and even NFL commentary. But underneath all that success, Snoop is deeply concerned about where hip-hop is headed, and he's not afraid to speak up about it. His biggest problem with today's rap is that nobody sounds original anymore. Everyone's copying each other instead of developing their own unique style. During that October 2024 interview with Dr. Dre, Snoop gave some advice to young artists that also served as a harsh criticism of the current scene. He told them to be original and find their own sound, even if it doesn't blow up right away. He's tired of seeing so much copycatting and mimicking, where artists just try to sound like whoever's hot at the moment. Snoop pointed out how the priorities have completely shifted in hip-hop. Back in his day, artists cared about creativity and understanding how music actually works, paying attention to harmony and melodies. But now, none of that seems to matter anymore.
As opposed to it used to be about creativity and understanding of musicianship, harmony, melodies, that don't even matter no more. It's just auto-tune. I want to sound like him. I want to say what she said, but I want to, do the same things, but just in my own way, as opposed to let me be original.
The other thing that really gets under Snoop's skin is how modern artists handle sampling. He's a master at taking classic songs and flipping them into something new while still respecting the original. But today's rappers take hits from the past and, in his words, mess them up completely. When Snoop and his peers sampled music, they made sure it complemented the original and actually helped those old songs get more attention and make more money. Now it feels like people just steal the best parts of great songs songs without adding anything meaningful, which disrespects the legends who came before them and cheapens hip-hop's rich history. Snoop's concern about copycatting and disrespectful sampling speaks to surface problems, but this next legend explains the root cause of why everyone sounds the same in modern hip-hop. Andre 3000. The creative genius behind Outkast has mostly stepped away from rapping, but his thoughts on modern hip-hop hit harder than most active artists' opinions. Andre 3000 changed Southern rap forever in the 1990s and 2000s with groundbreaking albums like ATLiens, Aquemini, and Speakerboxxx, The Love Below. His weird and wonderful style mixed cosmic lyrics, funk music, and theatrical performances in ways nobody had seen before, earning him 6 Grammys and a spot in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now 49 years old, Andre mostly plays the flute and released an experimental album called New Blue Sun in 2023. But during 2024 interviews, he shared some really sharp observations about what's wrong with rap today. His main point is simple but powerful. Artists don't have enough time to figure out who they are anymore, so everyone ends up sounding the same. During a July 2024 episode of The Shop, Andre broke down exactly why modern rappers all sound alike. It comes down to how fast everything moves now with social media and streaming.
And that's one thing now, I don't think artists have time to cultivate themselves. So a lot of artists sound the same because you can quickly jump on a microphone. But it's awesome because you get an immediacy, but you don't get time to hone who you are.
Andre explained that when he and Big Boi first started Outkast, they sounded just like everyone else they were listening to. If they had released music right away, nobody would remember them today. Instead, they spent years in the Dungeon Family Collective in Atlanta, practicing and experimenting until they found their unique voice. That kind of development time just doesn't exist anymore. To prove his point, Andre talked about Future and 2 Chainz. Even these huge stars needed time to become who they are now. Future has old recordings where he sounds completely different, more like a traditional rapper. Same with 2 Chainz back when he went by Tidy Boy. They had to go through years of trial and error to discover what worked best for them. But now, with TikTok and SoundCloud, artists can blow up overnight without ever finding their own identity. They just copy whatever's trending and never develop beyond that. Andre's point about artists not having time to cultivate themselves reveals a systemic issue, but this next legend focuses on how the culture lost its consciousness and authenticity along the way. Common. Lonnie Rashid Lynn Jr., known as Common, came up in Chicago's conscious rap scene in the early 1990s. His albums like Resurrection and Like Water for Chocolate Mixed Jazz sounds with deep thoughts about life and society. With 3 Grammys, an Oscar nomination for acting, and years of activism work, Common represents the thoughtful, poetic side of hip-hop that cares about saying something meaningful. At 53, he teamed up with producer Pete Rock in 2024 for an album called The Auditorium Volume 1 that got Grammy nominations and reminded people of how great 1990s hip-hop was. Throughout 2024, Common has been speaking up about his frustrations with modern rap. He thinks the genre has become too scattered, with everyone doing their own thing without any real connection or deeper purpose. Too much of today's music tries to shock people instead of actually saying something important. Common often reflects on how different hip-hop used to be during its early golden age.
Late 80s hip-hop and early 90s hip-hop was really conscious in certain ways.
During a July 2024 NPR interview with Pete Rock, Common explained that hip-hop is strong right now, but also broken into too many pieces. There are all these different lanes and pockets, which is cool in some ways, but it's also pulling the culture apart. Back in the 1990s, rap brought people together with songs that mixed personal stories with messages everyone could relate to. Now, everything's made for specific niches and social media algorithms, so nothing feels universal anymore. What bothers Common most is the lack of realness in modern hip-hop. He talked about how today's scene is full of fake personas created for Instagram and TikTok. Artists would rather put on an act than be vulnerable and honest. Common has always believed that lyrics are what separate great artists from good ones, and Pete Rock's production used to give real lyricists the space to shine. But now, a lot of music goes for shock value over substance, which waters down the whole art form. He gives Kendrick Lamar credit for keeping it real and actually saying something important, but he wishes more artists would follow that example instead of just trying to go viral with empty content. Common's critique about shock value replacing substance and personas eclipsing realness cuts deep, but this next legend blames one specific thing for destroying hip-hop's entire foundation: Pete Rock. Peter Phillips, known as Pete Rock, is a production legend from the Bronx whose smooth soul samples and perfect drum patterns helped create the golden age of East Coast rap. As part of Pete Rock and CL Smooth, he made classic songs like They Reminisce Over You, TROY, that used beautiful horn samples to honor people who passed away. He's produced for Nas, A Tribe Called Quest, and tons of other legendary artists over his 30-plus year career. Now 55, Pete Rock's 2024 album with Common got Grammy nominations and proved he can still make incredible music, but it also gave him a platform to speak his mind about what's wrong with hip-hop today. His main complaint is simple and brutal. Chasing money has destroyed hip-hop's integrity. The culture used to be about creativity and community, but now it's just about getting paid as fast as possible. Pete's frustration came through loud and clear on social media and in interviews throughout 2024.
Pete Rock said chasing money ruined hip-hop. And in the comments on the website, on Instagram, on Facebook, where this article was posted, shout out to Hip Hop DX, who I'm getting this article from.
In early January 2024, during hip-hop's 50th anniversary celebrations, Pete went off on Instagram about how the culture lost its way. He said that chasing the bag became the main problem, using slang for quick cash to explain how profit killed creativity. For Pete, who started making beats in basements and digging through record stores for samples, this change isn't progress. It's watching something beautiful get destroyed. Pete wrote that hip-hop is getting pile-driven straight into the ground. He and his generation created real history, but he doesn't know what people are creating now because it sure isn't history or real hip-hop. He also called out how sensitive everyone gets when you criticize modern rap. If you have an opinion, people automatically call you a hater instead of listening to what you're saying. By September 2024, when his album with Common came out, Pete kept pushing this message in radio interviews. He sees some hope in younger fans who want authentic music, but he thinks the culture needs to get back to putting soul and feeling into the music instead of just chasing streams and money. Pete Rock's argument that chasing money ruined hip-hop's integrity is powerful, but this next legend identified what's actually missing from the music itself that makes projects forgettable. LL Cool J, James Todd Smith, known as LL Cool J, exploded onto the scene in 1985 as a teenage star on Def Jam Records. His album radio mixed tough battle rap with catchy hooks, and songs like I Need Love showed rap could be romantic too. Over 40 years, he's had 14 top 10 albums, won 2 Grammys, and even got a Kennedy Center honor. He's acted in NCIS Los Angeles, runs the Rock the Bells Festival, and in 2024 dropped his first album in 11 years called The Force. At 57, LL Cool J is living proof that you can stay relevant in hip-hop for decades. But his recent interviews show he's worried about where the culture is going. He thinks modern rap has gotten shallow, focusing on empty flexing instead of telling real stories. Hip-hop used to be the voice of the underdog, but now it feels elitist and disconnected from regular people. LL has a different approach to dealing with hip-hop's problems than just complaining about them.
Because see, a lot of these dudes, they sit around complaining about shit all day, man. It's just like, I'm not doing that. Listen, man, we're not gonna sit around the dinner table hungry when I can go out in the woods and figure some shit out. I'm not gonna sit around hungry complaining with my ribs touching, on no level.
During interviews in late 2024, LL zeroed in on what's missing from today's rap: good songwriting. He explained in a New York Times interview that there's nothing wrong with rapping about money or sex. He actually loves both topics. But a project needs more than just that to actually be compelling and hold people's attention. LL's own songs mixed vulnerability with strength, giving listeners emotional depth alongside the bragging. But now, albums just have endless flexing with no real storytelling or emotional connection. LL also talked about how hip-hop stopped being underdog music. It used to speak for people struggling and fighting against the system, but now it's become elitist. Artists show off wealth like they're better than everyone else, which goes against everything hip-hop originally stood for. That black CNN quality, where rap reported what was really happening in communities, has faded. Into 2025, LL keeps pushing the message that hip-hop needs better songwriting and deeper content, not just surface-level showing off. LL's observation about missing songwriting and hip-hop becoming elitist music explains the artistic void, but this next legend calls out how modern rappers are telling completely fake stories. T.I. Clifford, Joseph Harris Jr., known as T.I., came out of Atlanta's Bankhead neighborhood in the early 2000s and crowned himself the King of the South. His albums Trap Music and Urban Legend created the blueprint for trap music that everyone follows today. With 14 albums, 5 number ones, and 3 Grammys, T.I. went from street stories to deeper, more thoughtful content, while also doing movies and running his Grand Hustle record label. At 45, T.I. is back as trap's wise elder, mentoring young artists and dropping new music. But he's also really frustrated with modern rap because he feels like nobody's telling real stories anymore. Instead of rapping about things that actually happened, artists make up fantasies about what they wish they had or what they plan to do someday. That approach, according to T.I., has killed what made trap music powerful in the first place. T.I. sees a troubling pattern in how young artists approach the music business today.
The cats who want it right now, then they go and do their publishing deal, they get a bag. They get a record deal, they get a bag, and if they lucky, then by the time they spend all their money, they got a song to catch. And if they lucky, and they find another way by the time that money run out to get some more money.
In early 2024, on the Earn Your Leisure podcast, T.I. broke down his main problem with today's rappers. They don't have real stories to tell. They rap about things they're going to do tomorrow or wish they had done yesterday instead of speaking on actual experiences. Real trap music came from surviving dangerous situations, dealing with police raids, losing friends to violence. That pain and struggle gave the music its power and authenticity. Without lived experience, the lyrics ring hollow. T.I. contrasted this with his own come-up. When he made Rubber Band Man, it came from watching his mother struggle financially and his own hustling that nearly cost him everything. But today's artists rap about buying blocks and expensive cars they don't own, chains that didn't come with any real consequences. He pointed this out again in a June 2024 Billboard Roundtable, saying artists sound like they're reading from algorithm-written scripts. They talk about buying the block, but never mention losing it to a snitch or informant. Trap died, in his view, when the story stopped being real scars and became fake simulations designed for streaming numbers. T.I.'s frustration with aspirational trap and hypothetical hustling exposes surface dishonesty, but this next legend says modern rap represents an absolute betrayal of everything hip-hop was built on. KRS-One. Lawrence Parker, known as KRS-One and nicknamed The Teacher, started the conscious rap movement in 1986 with Boogie Down Productions. Their album Criminal Minded mixed street knowledge with social commentary on songs like South Bronx. Over 40 years, he's released more than 30 albums and created the temple of hip-hop to preserve the culture's values. At 60, he's considered one of rap's greatest teachers and philosophers. KRS-One's 2024 work includes a book called The Tao of Hip-Hop and a collaboration with Nas. But from stages to social media, he's been on a mission to call out what he sees as the complete betrayal of hip-hop's original purpose. He doesn't hold back, saying modern rap is a disgrace to the culture that he and others built from nothing in the Bronx. KRS-One makes a crucial distinction that he thinks modern artists have completely lost sight of.
Actually, when it comes down to rap, I think that a lot of people are they're concentrating on rap and they're not concentrating on hip-hop. Hip-hop is a culture, a way of life, a way of thinking. Rap is, should I say, a deviation of that, or should I say a mutilation of that.
At the Hip Hop 50 Summit in Atlanta in January 2024, KRS-One gave a speech about preserving hip-hop's essence that turned into a harsh critique of the current scene. He said what people call hip-hop today is an absolute betrayal, disrespect, and disgrace. He reminded everyone that they built this culture from the Bronx as knowledge reigns supreme. That's what KRS actually stands for, not making money at any cost. Today's rappers are trading truth for material things and turning what used to be a storytelling tradition into meaningless gossip. KRS-One broke down 3 main problems he sees. First, materialism has taken over, with rappers bragging about Bentleys instead of providing blueprints for black liberation. Second, everyone copies each other because algorithms tell them what sounds to make. Third, big corporations control everything, pushing shock value over real education. Hip-hop used to be a weapon against oppression, poetry from the projects. Now it's just background music for wealthy people that has lost touch with its roots and purpose. Throughout 2024, KRS-One kept this message going. On NPR in April, he said hip-hop got hijacked by the same system it was created to fight against. Corporations took the culture and turned it into just another way to make money, leaving the lyrics empty and meaningless. He contrasted his era, when artists sampled James Brown to uplift people, with today's downloads that just sample sales figures over actual soul and substance. KRS-One's claim that rap is a mutilation of hip-hop culture and people concentrate on money over meaning is harsh, but this next legend reveals who's actually controlling and profiting from the culture's destruction. Scarface. Brad Terrence Jordan, known as Scarface, came out of Houston's Fifth Ward in the late 1980s as the dark poet of Southern rap. His work with the Geto Boys and solo albums like The Diary talked about mental health and street life in brutally honest ways. As a 3-time Grammy nominee and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member who's worked with everyone from Jay-Z to Ice Cube, Scarface helped build the foundation for modern trap music. Now 54, after a liver transplant in 2021 and getting sober, Scarface spends time preserving Houston's hip-hop history through his foundation and mentoring younger artists. But he's become one of hip-hop's angriest critics, saying the culture got taken over and dumbed down by outside forces. He specifically calls out how white executives and tech companies control hip-hop now, making money off black culture while paying black artists almost nothing. Scarface has some pointed advice for young artists trying to make it in today's industry.
When you have the opportunity for the world to hear your passion or hear your talents, man, by all means, make the move, man. Right. Make it to where the world can hear you and appreciate what you do, but just make sure you're being compensated for it.
In April 2024, on the Drink Champs podcast, Scarface went off about how hip-hop is under attack. He said people who don't look like us, meaning white executives, have dumbed down the culture so much that it's not what it used to be. Not everybody is talented, but the industry pushes them anyway because they're easy to control. He blames streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music for taking over and deciding who gets heard and how music gets promoted. These platforms didn't create hip-hop culture, but now they control it completely. They turned hip-hop into a system where artists get paid almost nothing while the platforms make millions. For Scarface, whose Geto Boys contracts in the 1990s were already exploitative, this is even worse. Algorithms push vapid, meaningless content while pushing aside artists like him who actually had something real to say on songs like Mind Playing Tricks on Me. Scarface's anger peaked in August 2025 on Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharp, where he admitted he doesn't care about the music business anymore and feels very bitter about it. The root cause? Racial inequality in contracts. He talked about wanting to compare Beastie Boys contracts to Geto Boys contracts, or Maze's contracts to Van Halen's contracts. He knows there's a huge difference in pay between white acts and black acts, and streaming has only made this worse by paying everyone scraps while keeping most of the money. Scarface's bitterness about white gatekeepers dumbing down hip-hop and exploiting black artists through unfair contracts is damning, but this next legend offers a more balanced view on whether hip-hop is truly dead or still alive. Nas. Nasir Jones, known simply as Nas, changed rap lyricism forever with his 1994 album Illmatic. That record painted cinematic pictures of life in Queensbridge projects and went quadruple platinum. Over 17 albums from It Was Written to the King's Disease trilogy, Nas has documented Black American life while mixing street poetry with deep philosophy. He's won 18 Grammys, got a Kennedy Center honor, and runs Mass Appeal Records, while also doing movies and comics. At 52, Nas stays busy in 2025 with his Legend Has It series that remixes classic songs with veterans like Ghostface Killah and Raekwon. He dropped a verse in March on Time that people called the most meaningful rap verse of 2025, and he's teasing Illmatic 2 for 2026. Looking back at his 2006 album, Hip Hop Is Dead, Nas has updated his view. He now says the genre is both alive and struggling at the same time, kept going by artists like Kendrick Lamar, but hurt by TikTok culture and viral chasing. Nas reflects on what hip-hop has lost since its early days as a thriving street culture.
And today it's kind of lost integrity, it's lost its meaning, it's lost its love, which is why I made a Hip Hop Is Dead album.
In March 2025, Nas told The Source that he used to say, hip hop is dead, and it kind of still is, but this year has been incredible in some ways. He pointed to Kendrick Lamar's run with songs like Not Like Us and Clips coming back after 16 years with raw energy. These artists prove that quality still exists, but there's still the problem of saturation, where too much content drops too fast and people's attention spans have gotten too short to appreciate real artistry. Nas explained that this creates flash in the pan artists who chase clout over craft. It's an implosion, too much happening too fast. He contrasted Illmatic, which he wrote at 19 and refined carefully over time, with today's TikTok approach where hooks matter more than actual stories and authenticity gets sold to algorithms. By July 2025, in a Complex interview, Nas broke down hip-hop's timeline by decade. The 1990s was about lyrical skill with him, AZ, and Rakim building legacies. The 2000s had sales but kept soul alive. The 2010s became a fashion fashion show with more pose than real content, and the 2020s brought saturation, with viral trends covering up the lack of vital truths. He called out clout chasing as the biggest sin. Artists drop a TikTok song, name drop legends like him, Tupac, and Biggie for quick likes, then wonder why they fade away fast. Real greatness never needed gimmicks, and Nas uses mass appeal records to preserve the real roots while still evolving the culture forward. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.